This woman, her name is Lucy, and she destroyed a 5-year relationship in exactly 30 days. Not through cheating, not through lying, but through complete and total silence. And when she finally decided to reach out, expecting forgiveness and open arms, she discovered something that would haunt her forever. Her boyfriend had moved on. He'd found someone else. And he told her something that shattered her world. Our relationship ended the day you stopped talking to me. I'm Emma, and welcome to Mrs. Emma, where we explore the real stories of love, loss, and the painful lessons we sometimes learn too late. Today's story is about a woman who thought she was setting boundaries, but was actually building walls. A woman who believed she was teaching her partner a lesson, only to discover she'd been teaching herself one instead. This is Lucy's story. And trust me, you need to hear every word of it. Lucy was 27 years old when her world fell apart. For 5 years, she'd been with Luke. 5 years of memories, inside jokes, shared dreams, and building a life together. They'd met in college when everything was simple and full of possibility. They'd watched each other grow, supported each other through graduations and new jobs, and eventually moved into an apartment together. They split everything down the middle, 50-50, like equals, like partners, like people who were planning forever. But somewhere along the way, cracks started appearing. Small ones at first. So small that Lucy didn't even notice them. Or maybe she did notice, but convinced herself they didn't matter. Luke worked at a corporate job that drained him completely. Every evening he'd come home exhausted, wanting nothing more than to collapse on the couch and just exist in the same space as Lucy. He wanted to talk about their day, about them, about life. But Lucy? Lucy was 27 and still felt young. She wanted to go out with her friends, to enjoy happy hours and weekend brunches, to feel alive and social and free. At first, Luke didn't mind. But as the weeks went by and Lucy spent more and more evenings out, something shifted in him. He started asking questions. Where are you going? Who's going to be there? What time will you be home? To Lucy, these questions felt like chains. Like someone was trying to control her, to clip her wings, to turn her into some version of herself that needed permission to breathe. She was an independent woman, she told herself. She didn't need to report her every movement to anyone. The tension grew thicker with every passing week. Luke would glance at her phone when she was texting. He'd wait up for her when she came home late. And one night, everything exploded. Lucy walked through the door around midnight, still laughing from dinner with her girlfriends, and found Luke sitting in the living room with all the lights off, just sitting there, waiting. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice quiet but heavy with something Lucy couldn't quite name. "Out with the girls. I told you that," she answered, feeling her defenses rising immediately. "You said you'd be home by 10. Plans changed. It's not a big deal." But to Luke, it was a big deal. He started asking more questions. Who was there? What did they talk about? Why hadn't she sent him updates? And with every question, Lucy felt her anger building. This wasn't normal boyfriend concern. This was jealousy. This was control. This was suffocating. "You're being paranoid," she told him, her voice sharp. "I'm allowed to have a life outside of us." Luke's face crumpled a little, and he asked the question that would change everything. "Are you happy? With us, I mean? Are you happy in this relationship?" Lucy stared at him. Obviously, she was happy. She wouldn't be there if she wasn't. But the way he asked it, so serious, so sad, so full of doubt, it made her defensive. It made her angry. "Your jealousy is becoming really unattractive," she said, the words sharp and cutting. "You've gotten boring, Luke. Predictable. You never want to do anything spontaneous anymore. You've turned into this anxious, needy version of yourself, and honestly, it's exhausting." She watched the words hit him like physical blows. His face went pale. His hands trembled slightly. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. Because in that moment, she felt like she was fighting for her right to exist as her own person. The fight spiraled. Luke wanted to talk through everything immediately, to analyze every feeling, to resolve it all right then and there. But Lucy was done talking. She was done explaining. She was done defending her right to have friends and freedom. I need space, she finally said. I need time to think about all of this without you hovering over me, asking a million questions and pressuring me for answers. Luke's eyes went wide with panic. What does that mean? How much time? Are we breaking up? I don't know, Lucy shouted. That's why I need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready to talk. But I need you to give me room to breathe and figure things out. And so began the longest month of Lucy's life. Though at the time, she didn't see it that way. At the time, she felt liberated. For 30 full days, Lucy didn't respond to Luke's texts, didn't answer his calls, didn't acknowledge his existence beyond the bare minimum when they passed each other in their shared apartment. She told herself she was setting healthy boundaries. She was teaching him a lesson about respecting her independence. She was showing him that she couldn't be controlled. The first week, Luke's texts came constantly. Are you okay? Can we please talk? I miss you. I'm worried about you. I want to work this out. Lucy would see his name light up her phone screen and simply delete the messages without reading them. She felt powerful in those moments, like she was finally in control of something. At home, she stayed polite but distant. When Luke tried to start conversations, she'd give him one-word answers and walk away. She wasn't being cruel, she told herself. She was just maintaining her boundaries. Actions have consequences. He needed to learn. And honestly, Lucy felt amazing. For the first time in months, maybe years, she could breathe. She could come and go without being questioned. She could text her friends without someone reading over her shoulder. She could just exist without constantly explaining herself. Her girlfriends were incredible during this time. They took her out, let her vent, reassured her that she deserved better than someone who couldn't handle her independence. They'd go dancing, and Lucy would feel young and alive and free. No more checking the time. No more worrying about interrogations when she got home. She even started noticing other men. Not in a romantic way, she told herself. Just noticing. There was Marcus from the coffee shop near her work. He was sweet and easy to talk to. They'd chat while waiting for their orders. And it was refreshing. No pressure, no jealousy, no drama. Just simple, genuine conversation. Lucy wasn't doing anything wrong. She wasn't cheating. She was just remembering what it felt like to talk to someone who didn't make everything about their own insecurities. Someone who could appreciate her independence instead of feeling threatened by it. Meanwhile, Luke seemed to be pulling away too. He started working longer hours, coming home late, looking exhausted. Part of Lucy thought this proved her point. If he really cared, wouldn't he be fighting harder? Wouldn't he be more present? Instead, he was hiding at work, probably wallowing in self-pity. When they were home at the same time, Luke would look at her with these sad, wounded eyes, like a kicked puppy, like she was supposed to feel guilty for standing her ground. But Lucy refused to fall for the emotional manipulation. She'd asked for space, and that's exactly what she was taking. If he couldn't handle that basic request, it said everything about who he really was. Around week 3, Luke's messages started becoming less frequent. At first, Lucy felt proud. Finally, he was learning to respect her boundaries. But then another feeling crept in. Annoyance. Maybe even a little anger. If he really loved her, shouldn't he be trying harder? Shouldn't he be showing her that she mattered enough to wait for? The contradictions didn't occur to her then. That she wanted space, but also wanted him to fight for her. That she wanted independence, but also wanted proof of his devotion. That she wanted him to respect her boundaries while simultaneously proving he wouldn't give up. By the end of the month, Lucy felt clear. She'd had time to process without his constant pressure. She'd rediscovered herself. She'd remembered who she was outside of being Luke's girlfriend. And now she was ready to have a mature conversation about moving forward with better boundaries. She felt generous, forgiving even. She was ready to give them another chance, assuming Luke had learned his lesson about trying to control her. On day 30, Lucy sent a simple text. Hey, I think we should talk. She figured Luke would be relieved, grateful even, ready to work things out and promise to do better. She was giving him another chance after all. After a month of silence, she was finally reaching out. Surely he'd appreciate that. His response came quickly, too quickly. And when Lucy read the words on her screen, her entire world shattered into a million pieces. I've moved on. I'm seeing someone else now. Someone from work named Naomi. Lucy couldn't breathe. She read the message again, and again, and again. 5 years. 5 years of her life thrown away because Luke couldn't wait one single month for her to process her feelings like an adult. Her hands shaking, she called him immediately. When Luke answered, his voice sounded different. Calmer, somehow, but also colder than she'd ever heard it. "What do you mean you're seeing someone else?" Lucy demanded, her voice breaking. "I mean exactly that," Luke said quietly. "Lucy, our relationship ended the day you stopped communicating with me. I didn't break up with you. I asked for space. There's a massive difference. Ignoring someone completely for an entire month isn't taking space," Luke said, and Lucy could hear something like sadness in his voice. "That's ghosting. That's abandonment. You cut me out of your life entirely." "I was setting healthy boundaries," Lucy shouted, tears streaming down her face now. "Healthy boundaries include communication," Luke replied. "They include letting the other person know you still care, that you're still in this. You didn't take space, Lucy. You disappeared." "So you just gave up? You just moved on to the first woman who paid attention to you?" There was a long pause. When Luke spoke again, his voice was even softer. "Naomi was there for me during one of the hardest times of my life. She listened. She cared. She didn't play mind games or punish me for having feelings." "Mind games?" Lucy's voice went shrill. "I was taking care of my mental health. By completely shutting out someone who loved you? By living in the same apartment but treating me like I was invisible? That's not self-care, Lucy. That's cruelty." Lucy felt like she was drowning. "How long has this been going on?" "We've gotten close over the past few weeks," Luke admitted. "Weeks? While I was giving you space to grow, you were already replacing me?" "There was nothing to replace," Luke said, and his words were like knives. "You made it very clear you didn't want to be with me anymore. You just didn't have the courage to actually say it." "That's not true. I was coming back. I was ready to work on us." After 30 days of complete silence, after treating me like I didn't exist, after watching me hurt and doing nothing about it. Luke's voice cracked slightly. "Lucy, I spent weeks hoping you'd come back, hoping you still cared. But you showed me exactly how much I mattered to you, which was not at all." "You're rewriting history," Lucy accused. "You're making me the villain when you're the one who couldn't wait." "I waited," Luke said simply. "I waited until I realized that the person I loved was never coming back. And then I met someone who actually wants to be with me. Someone who doesn't see communication as a weakness or caring as control." The conversation ended with Lucy sobbing and Luke saying goodbye with a finality that felt like death. And then he was gone. Lucy couldn't accept it. She wouldn't accept it. 5 years couldn't just end like this. Luke was clearly going through some kind of rebound situation, and she needed to snap him out of it before he made a decision he'd regret forever. She tried everything. She showed up at his office during lunch, but he told her he was too busy to meet. Obviously, he was avoiding her because he knew he was making a mistake. She wrote him a long, heartfelt letter explaining everything she'd felt during their time apart, how much she loved him, how much she wanted to make things work. She left it on his car with homemade cookies, his favorite kind. He never acknowledged receiving it. Lucy started checking his social media obsessively. Suddenly, Luke was posting pictures of hiking trails and coffee shops, places they used to go together. But now he was going with her, with Naomi. He was replacing all their memories, deliberately trying to hurt her. So Lucy decided to show him what he was missing. She started going out more, posting pictures of herself looking amazing. She reconnected with Marcus from the coffee shop and started seeing him more seriously. She made sure to post subtle pictures that showed she was with someone, letting Luke wonder what he'd given up. But even while she was with Marcus, she couldn't stop thinking about Luke. She needed to understand what made this Naomi woman so special. So she did what anyone would do. She researched her online. Naomi's social media was annoyingly wholesome. Pictures with her family, her dog, hiking adventures, volunteer work. She seemed like one of those relentlessly positive people who probably never had a deep or complex thought in her life. Definitely not Luke's type. At least not the Luke that Lucy knew. What bothered Lucy most was how basic Naomi seemed. If Luke wanted someone completely different, couldn't he have picked someone interesting? Someone with personality or edge? Instead, he'd chosen this plain woman who probably never challenged him or pushed him to grow. Lucy started asking mutual friends what they'd heard. Most were shocked by the breakup and couldn't believe Luke had moved on so quickly. But a few mentioned that Luke seemed different lately. More confident, they said. Happier. Which made no sense because Lucy had been trying to build his confidence for years. Finally, Lucy sent Luke one more text. She apologized for needing space. She admitted maybe she'd been too harsh. She told him she was ready to work on things together, to really try this time. His response was brief and devastating. I appreciate the apology, but I've moved on. I'm happy with Naomi. I hope you can find happiness too. Please respect my new relationship. Respect. After 5 years together, after everything they'd been through, he was asking her to respect his relationship with a woman he barely knew. 6 months later, Lucy saw them together. She was at a coffee shop downtown with Marcus when she spotted them in a corner booth. Luke and Naomi, completely absorbed in their conversation. Lucy's stomach dropped, but she told herself she could handle this. She was over it. She'd moved on too, except she hadn't. Because watching them together was like looking into an alternate universe. They were so comfortable with each other, laughing at inside jokes, finishing each other's sentences. Luke looked more relaxed than Lucy had ever seen him. The tension he'd always carried in his shoulders was gone. He was smiling constantly, cracking jokes, looking at Naomi like she was the most fascinating person in the world. And the worst part? Lucy had been with Luke for 5 years, and he'd never looked at her that way. Not even in the beginning. Marcus noticed she was distracted and tried to comfort her, but Lucy couldn't look away. When Luke got up to order drinks, their eyes met for a split second across the cafe, and in that moment, Lucy saw the truth. Luke didn't look angry. He didn't look hurt. He didn't look regretful. He looked indifferent. Like Lucy was a stranger he vaguely recognized, but had no emotional connection to anymore. That hurt more than anything else ever had. This wasn't a rebound. This wasn't revenge dating. Luke was genuinely happy with Naomi in a way he'd never been with Lucy, and she seemed equally content, like they'd found exactly what they were looking for in each other. A year later, Lucy's life had completely fallen apart. Things with Marcus ended because he said she was still too hung up on Luke to be in a real relationship. After Marcus, she tried dating other men, but everyone seemed impossible. They'd disappear after 1 or 2 dates, probably intimidated by her strong personality. Meanwhile, she kept hearing updates about Luke and Naomi through mutual friends. They'd moved in together after 6 months. Everyone said they were perfect together, meant to be. It was nauseating. The worst news came when Lucy found out they'd gotten engaged. Engaged, after barely a year together. It seemed so rushed, so reckless. But everyone acted like it was some great love story. Lucy may have reached out to congratulate Luke and mentioned that she hoped he was sure about what he was doing. Just genuine concern for someone she'd cared about for 5 years. But apparently that was considered inappropriate. People started saying she was harassing him. Work became a nightmare, too. Lucy had always been direct in her communication style, but suddenly she was labeled as difficult to work with, creating a hostile environment. She ended up getting fired for poor team dynamics. Being unemployed while watching Luke plan his perfect wedding was probably the lowest point of Lucy's life. She may have left some comments on their wedding venue's social media, trying to warn other couples, but apparently that was harassment too. Luke got a restraining order against her. A restraining order. Over some Facebook comments. The legal issues were humiliating and expensive. Potential employers would Google her name and find court records. She ended up having to move back in with her parents at 28, sleeping in her childhood bedroom while all her friends were getting married and building careers. The wedding happened without her, obviously. But Lucy saw all the pictures online. Luke looked happier than she'd ever seen him, dancing with Naomi, surrounded by all their former mutual friends. People who used to be her friends were now celebrating his new life like she'd never existed. And the photos showed genuine joy. Not 2 people rushing into something, but 2 people who'd found exactly what they were looking for. Now Lucy is 29, starting completely over, while her ex of 5 years is living his dream life with someone he barely knew when they started dating. But here's what Lucy still doesn't understand, even now. She wasn't the victim in this story. She was the architect of her own destruction. She thought she was setting boundaries, but she was building walls. She thought she was teaching Luke a lesson, but she was teaching him that she didn't care. She thought 30 days of complete silence was space, but it was abandonment. It was cruelty disguised as self-care. And when Luke did exactly what she'd been doing, moving on, finding happiness elsewhere, choosing himself, she couldn't handle it. Because deep down, she'd never actually wanted space. She'd wanted Luke to suffer just enough to appreciate her more. She'd wanted control. Lucy's story is a painful reminder that relationships require communication, even during the hard times. Especially during the hard times. That independence doesn't mean shutting people out. That asking for space doesn't mean disappearing. And that sometimes the lesson we think we're teaching is actually the lesson we need to learn. I'm Emma, and thank you for listening to this story here on Mrs. Emma. If this story made you think, if it touched your heart, or if you learned something important about love and relationships, please hit that like button. Share this video with your friends who need to hear this message, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another story. We're here every week with real stories about real people and the complicated, beautiful, heartbreaking reality of human connection. What do you think about Lucy's story? Did she deserve what happened, or was Luke too quick to move on? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care of each other. And remember, communication isn't control, it's care. This is Emma, signing off.